Welcome to the local campaign, and thank you for joining us for our debate in the riding of Nepean. In just a moment, I will introduce to you the 6 candidates who are here for our debate. But first, I'll explain a little bit about how things are going to work. We're going to start with some opening statements from each of the candidates, 1 minute in length. The order for those opening statements was drawn at random before we began our telecast. Then we'll move into a series of debates about the important local and national issues in this federal election campaign. In each case, I'll start off the topic by directing a specific question to one of the candidates. That candidate will have 45 seconds to speak on that topic, after which we'll open it up to all the candidates for debate and discussion on that particular topic. At the end of the debate time, we'll go back to the candidate to whom the question was originally directed, and that candidate will have 30 seconds to wrap up. We'll move through a series of different local and national topics in that format, and then we'll wrap up with closing statements, and those will be 1 minute in length once again, and in the reverse order of the opening statements. So let's meet the candidates who are seeking your vote in the riding of Nepean. First, the Liberal candidate, Chandra Arya. Representing the NDP, Zaf Ansari. The Communist Party of Canada candidate is Dustin Wang. From the People's Party of Canada, Azim Huda. The Conservative Party candidate is Brian St. Louis. And from the Green Party of Canada, Jean-Luc Cook. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being with us for the debate. Let's start with the opening statements, and we'll begin with Chandra Arya, the Liberal candidate. You have 1 minute.
Hello. 4 years ago, we were clear with Canadians about the things we believe in. We believe that a strong economy starts with a strong middle class. We cut income taxes for the middle class. We invested in Canadian families through Canada Child Benefit. We lowered the small business tax from 11% to 9%. We invested in infrastructure. So during the last 4 years, Canadians created 1 million jobs. The unemployment rate is at the lowest in about 40 years. Youth unemployment is at the lowest thing on record. We continue to believe in the same principles that we have to invest in Canadians. Cutting is not an option. Investing is an option. We will continue to do that in the same way as we did during the last 4 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Zaf Ansari, the NDP candidate. Go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you, Stan, for inviting us to the debate. I'm Zaf Ansari. I'm representing NDP for the federal riding of Nepean. And I'm fortunate to represent Nepean twice. I ran in the provincial election. I'm really grateful for all the constituents who enormously supported me. I live in this great country of Canada with my wife and my 4 kids. I love this country and I love my community. I have been knocking the doors for past few weeks, and I have been listening to the complaints, and the voters are complaining that they can't pay the bills. They are finding hard time to pay bills, to pay for the child care services, to pay for tuition costs, to pay for medicines, and the services, everyday services they rely on. I think we can do better. So with NDP new...
Okay, that's time. Thank you. Next up is the Communist Party of Canada candidate, Dustin Wang. Go ahead.
We are facing many issues in the modern day. With the climate crisis threatening our planet, precarious work forcing many people to work up to 5 jobs just to pay for food and shelter. We're also facing a more aggressive United States in global climate. And the United States may end up threatening to drag Canada into a war with a country that has done nothing to deserve this suffering. Hi, I'm Dustin Wang. I'm a student at the University of Ottawa, and I've lived in this riding for 8 years. The Communist Party has a lot of policies that will help address these issues. One of them, for example, for the environment issue, is we will close the tar sands in 5 years and guarantee every worker there a job of equal pay. We will also institute a $20 minimum wage and 32-hour work week with no loss in take-home pay to ensure that businesses have to pay to employ enough workers. These are only a small number of policies for the Communist Party, and you'll see the rest in the debate.
Thank you. Next up is the candidate for the People's Party of Canada, Azim Huda. Go ahead, you have 60 seconds.
The astounding manner in which the established federal parties have functioned is undermining our faith in democracy and eroding the social fabric of our great country. Political divide is a systematic problem, and identity politics is gaining ground. There is a disconnect between the high cost of living and the opportunities for a good paying job. This is due to lack of vision and irresponsible federal policies over the past decades. Amidst all this, the People's Party of Canada shall end the status quo, detoxify the burgeoning political landscape. Well-articulated policies has inspired me to serve the interest of Nepean. Being a new party, the PPC is doing politics differently, putting Canadian interest first and putting Canadians first.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the Conservative Party candidate, Brian St. Louis. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to Rogers for having this debate, and thank you, Mark, for moderating. I am running in this election because I want to fight for the community I grew up in. Nepean deserves better than the tax hikes, the ethical violations, the broken promises, and the shockingly embarrassing failures and behavior we have seen over the international stage during the last 4 years. We know who gets ahead in Justin Trudeau's Canada. It's SNC-Lavalin, it's Loblaws executives, and the Friends of the Liberal Party. This government has lost credibility, and I know many listening realize we desperately need change. I also believe it's time Nepean had a fresh voice locally. We need an MP who will be active, collaborative, and work across our community to get things done. People have seen enough photo ops from politicians. This hard work and unrelenting passion for our community is exactly what I will bring as your Member of Parliament for Nepean. But I need your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Finally, Jean-Luc Cook, the Green Party candidate. Go ahead.
Hello, Nepean. My name is Jean-Luc Cook, Green Party candidate for 2019. I'm sure you've heard our party's successes across the country in the last little while. This is a result of Canadians prioritizing action on climate change, but it's also a result of people's disappointment in the old parties. The Liberals and the Conservatives are acting as though they are beholden to big business, big oil, the tar sands, Bombardier, SNC-Lavalin. The Green Party answers to you. Over the past 10 years, I've been a diligent citizen of Nepean, president of my community association, helping found a neighborhood watch in my community, building community events such as Family Fun Days in the Park and seniors programs. On October 21st, you're going to be presented with a choice of electing more of the same or electing someone who has always put community and people first. Instead of choosing left or right in this election, I'm asking you to choose forward, to go forward together.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your opening statements. Let's start to debate some of the important issues in this election campaign. I'll begin with a question to Chandra Arya, the Liberal candidate. After the blackface, brownface controversy, the fact that the Prime Minister was found to have violated conflict of interest rules, and the broken promises from the 2015 election, why should Canadians still trust Justin Trudeau? You have 45 seconds.
In the last 4 years, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has shown what he really is. He stated 4 years back he's going to invest in Canadians. He exactly did that. He said he is going to help families, the middle class families. He cut middle class taxes. He invested in families with Canada Child Benefit. The results are there to see today. Over 1 million jobs were created by Canadians. Unemployment is 40 years low. However, we are first to agree that there still more needs to be done, and that is what we are proposing to do going ahead.
Okay, it's open to everyone now.
So we see from the last 4 years, even though the economy is doing well, but people are still struggling. People are struggling to meet their ends. They can't afford the medicines. They have to use the credit card to pay for their medicines.
Absolutely, Zaf. That's the reason why we are promoting.
NDP is proposing a universal pharma care and dental care, so you don't have to use your credit card to pay for your medicine. You don't have to decide between your food and your medicine.
We are also proposing a national pharma care. We have already taken step to initiate the national
But
pharmacare.
a liberal government has promised
Gentlemen, the
in the
question's about
1999, like 20 years now, you promised for the national pharmacare, you have not done. And this time Justin Trudeau has said that he want to implement national care, but if you see the budget, the parliamentary budget office, he did not costed about the pharmacare. So it's a lie, so we can't like trust him again.
Let's bring this back onto subject, please.
Yeah, please.
The question was about how we feel as Canadians. All of us who are candidates here are Canadians. And our Prime Minister is now going to be known as Prime Minister Blackface on the international stage. I don't believe Justin Trudeau is a racist, but we have to speak to the elephant in the room. Those photos are damaging to Canada as a reputation of an inclusive country. And frankly, Justin Trudeau has injured all of us in the reputation of our country.
I fully agree with that. Chandra, you sounded like Justin Trudeau answering a question there, totally avoiding what was being asked and going off on something totally different. I think this speaks to the character of Justin Trudeau. I mean, he was 30 years old almost in this picture. I'm up here at 32 years old now. I've known for a long time this was an inappropriate behavior. And I was even speaking with a Liberal supporter at the door the other day as I knock doors all day, every day. And he said to me, you don't actually expect people to believe Justin Trudeau's a racist. And I said, no, not at all. I think he's a liar and a hypocrite. And all he did was smile and nod at me. And that's what your own supporters are telling me. So I can only imagine what most Canadians are feeling about this.
As a leader, we expect something more dignified and something that is respectful and something that actually honors our country in the international and global scene. What Mr. Trudeau is doing, not just with his colored faces, but the way he flaunts with the rule of law. We all remember the SNC Lavalin. And a number of times with the Ethics Committee, we believe that Mr. Trudeau, his leadership especially, it's not sufficient enough for us to even consider him continuing.
Even the Justin Trudeau, he has mocked the protester, the indigenous protester, and he did like the blackface, even though like if you see that he's not racist, but still for the optics, it looks like bad. So as a son is coming from a prime minister's, his father was a prime minister, he should know how to behave.
To add on to that, as a Communist Party member, I fully disagree with his usage of the blackface. However, the biggest focus here would most likely be his failed promises. Justin Trudeau has failed the Canadian people and lied to them. And for any other profession, if you lie to the people that you serve, you get fired. So Justin Trudeau should not have the trust of the Canadian people, nor should he be Prime Minister.
I think he's also outlined how there's basically a set of rules for Justin Trudeau in the Liberal Party, and there's a set of rules for everyone else.
So
Canadians expect fairness, they expect results, they expect you to do what you say you will do, and this is not what has happened over the last 4 years. Everyone watching this knows this.
I don't think Justin Trudeau believes that there is a rule of law or there is something to follow. He just goes by his own whimsical character, sometimes manipulating emotions of the people through his mantra of diversity. I think people should wake up and use common sense. Is he really fit to continue? Yes, he has a Trudeau progeny in him. That's nice. I do respect that. But
So
you need more than that to continue as a leader.
To add on,
Sorry,
So
I just
to
wanted to
add
get a
on
word in
that,
very
and
quickly.
even he has break the ethics principles and by deferring the SNC Lavalin DPA, and he said he's feminist, but when Jody Wilson, when she came stand up against it, and he fired him. So it clearly shows that like he's actually not standing for women. So we need a prime minister who respects minorities, who respects women, and who really cares about, and who doesn't mock the people.
On this, I agree, I really do. But let's look at the systemic problem of SNC Lavalin, because we've mentioned it a few times now. And this is the problem that's not specific to the Liberal Party. SNC Lavalin, the current chairman of SNC Lavalin, was the clerk of the Privy Council under Stephen Harper. And their legal counsel right now are former Supreme Court justices. This is a revolving door. And these kinds of companies must be held to account to the rule of law.
Okay, let's stop there and we'll go back to Chandra Arya. You have the final 30 seconds on this topic.
On the blackface thing, let me say this. It was wrong then, it is wrong now. Whether it's the Prime Minister or any individual, that is not right. Judge Justin Trudeau by the record of what he has delivered. SNC-Lavalin. I have no apologies to make on SNC-Lavalin. We will continue to fight for jobs. Canada is the only country in the Western world which doesn't have the deferred prosecution agreement.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next topic, and I'll direct this question to the New Democratic Party candidate, Zaf Ansari. I want to talk about the role of a member of parliament and what you would do for the people of Nepean. I think increasingly Canadians feel like the role of MP has been diminished, that MPs often speak for their parties to the riding rather than speak on behalf of the riding to the leaders of their parties. What would you do specifically to act independently to serve the people of Nepean? You've got 45 seconds.
I see the people in Nepean are really struggling for to commute from Barhaven and around the Barhaven area. So we have a lot of issues. So the biggest is the LRT, and I see our incumbent MP Chandra Arya. He has not done anything, and he has no local touch with the current issues. So we could do much better, and people are struggling. We can give them a farmer care, universal farmer care, the NDP new program. We are promising to bring farmer care, where we will give farmer care free to all Canadians, farmer care and dental care. So I think we need an MP who can stand for the people. And
okay, it's open to everyone now.
As an MP, I have delivered. I'm one of the only 10 MPs out of 338 MPs who could get the private legislative proposal passed as a law. My private member's bill on hate crimes today is law. And also, it is incorrect to say that all MPs will follow the party line. I have voted against our own government, for example, on the genetic discrimination bill, which compelled that the insurance companies cannot discriminate people based on their genetic testing. I voted against the bill. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has allowed us MPs to take independent stance on various things, as long as it is not a confidence vote. So we have stood, we have made proposals, and Zaf talked about infrastructure. Zaf, do you understand that all the infrastructure proposals that have come from the city of Ottawa has already been approved by the federal government? And I work very closely with the elected officials at the city level and the provincial level. Any infrastructure proposal pertaining to Nepean or Ottawa, anything that has come for the last 4 years have been approved, and the funding is committed, and that will continue to do so. In fact, now, in addition to you talked about the transit and LRT, as I said, we have funded LRT. In addition to that, the growing Nepean requires community infrastructure, social infrastructure, recreational infrastructure. Federal government, we have given Ontario $407 million, and the application
this isn't about what you've done in Parliament. This is about representing your people and your riding over your party. As a Communist Party member, I fully believe in that governing requires the support of the people, which means that as a member of Parliament, you can't just be sitting in Parliament talking with people. You have to go out to your riding, talk with individuals, hold meetings
I
with
have
town
met
halls.
1,100 individuals one-on-one. I have attended 1,150 community events in Nepean and Ottawa. I have organized 17 town hall meetings on senior care.
But I have to ask a question.
Yeah,
how many people
exactly
went to your meetings?
Exactly.
Are you getting the right people?
I'm giving the numbers here. 1,100 individuals are met. 1,150
Nepean is about 120,000 people, okay, with 40,000 households. Now, I will say, as People's Party of Canada, and I being a resident for over 30 years, okay, we are doing politics differently, putting Canadian first, and as a new party, we have been given a different way to do politics.
The different way is cutting immigration. Is that the way you do? Cutting immigration?
I represent Nepean riding first.
And you want to cut down
doesn't have any ideologies.
The multicultural fabric you want to tear?
Can I jump in here for a second? I think we need to correct a few things. One, when you're talking about infrastructure, the Liberals have only flowed about 60% of the 100% of funding they promised. Chandra, you have terrible relations with most of the local politicians and business groups. Every one of them will tell you that. I've worked for a member of Parliament. I was probably the only one here prior to Chandra with experience in Parliament. And I never forgot what he did. He would win a riding, no problem. He didn't even need to contest the election. And he always replied to every email. That is not the case from your office. He would always reply to phone calls. That is not the case from your office.
That's absolutely
What
BS.
I can say is
I'll
I
tell
will
you,
not-
Brian, this is absolute BS. I know exactly what I do. I know the amount of time I spent on my phone calls, emails, meeting individuals. I almost said no to any individual who wants to come and meet
Chandra,
me.
you should maybe
I've
not
been
do it like
always
I do, and
be
you'll hear a
there
very different
outside
point of view.
with the community people, meeting them, working with them. I worked with the elected officials. There are all the city councillors. I've
Look,
been
we
good
are
working
trying to bring
relationship.
the future here, not the past. The future is about vision.
And Mr.
The
Huda,
vision
you are
please,
taking
please
us to the
let
past
me
of-
finish.
Okay.
You know,
I'm sorry.
you are
I'm
taking
sorry,
us-
sir.
Just let other people talk for a minute.
We have our own freedoms too, please. It is about the vision for Nepean. My vision for Nepean is very clear. What was Ottawa in the 1980s? A Silicon Valley of the North. Yes, we did lose the Notels and the likes in Canada.
Sir, we're talking about representing the people here, not about
Yeah,
any
it is to
policy.
build, right? No, it is, my vision is to set up a Nepean South high-tech corridor.
What I'm saying
What
here
is
is a real
what
lack
is
of
going to give
understanding
us
of-
good paying jobs, prosperity, and a future where the young can see that, yes, Nepean is where I want to continue to live.
Okay, back-
What I'm saying here, I think, is frankly a bit of naivety to how politics work. Having worked on it on the political side and also working a lot with politics and business, it is tough to change politics. There is a way to get things done. You need to know that to do things. And what I can commit to is changing politics is difficult, but what I can always do is remember who puts me there, remember the constituents of Nepean, and remember who I'm fighting for. And that's what you're going to get out of me if you elect me on October 21st.
There's only one political party that doesn't whip its MPs, and it's the Green Party.
There's not very
Okay,
many
we'll
of
stop
them.
there. Thank you. Let's go back to Zaf Ansari. You get the final 30 seconds.
As an MP for you, I will work for the Nepean and I will try to bring the green technology jobs to Nepean, so where we can have the jobs where we can create for to control the low carbon emissions to meet the targets. And Chandra Arya, he has promised in the last election he will bring jobs to Nepean, but we have not seen anything. Our youth, they don't have job and they are still looking for jobs. So I think I will bring the jobs to Nepean by creating the.
Okay, that's time. Thank you. Next question is for Dustin Wang, the Communist Party candidate. I think a lot of Ottawa residents have become concerned about rising gun violence in our community in the last few years. Should cities have more power to take action against gun violence and more resources from the federal government?
Okay, on the issue of gun violence, yes, cities absolutely should have more resources to deal with this issue. But we don't think this is the main issue revolving around gun crimes. Gun violence has to come from some sort of a crime, and we and the Communist Party plan to address the root issues of this. No one is born a criminal. Many of the people who do these crimes would rather not do these crimes and have a proper job. So in order to reduce gun crimes directly, we will ensure that everyone has a job, ensure that no one has no future, and that there's a path towards education, good job, and a proper retirement for all.
Okay, it's open to everyone now.
With respect to the guns, I agree that we need to control the ownership of guns, and the cities are the best ones placed. We have to ban the semi-automatic assault style rifles. They have no place in the civic society. Handguns have to be controlled, and our approach is that we will let the cities decide on the handgun ban, and we will also have to increase the penalties for the gun ownership, which we'll continue to do.
I think to control the gun violence, because we are seeing more crimes in Ottawa now. So to control the gun violence, we basically need to control the weapons on the border. So most of the weapons that are coming into Canada are coming from the south of border. So we need to have a strict. The NDP we are pledging that to stop the guns, to have strict laws at the customs, immigrations, where so the guns don't sneak into Canada. So if we can stop there, we can reduce a lot of gun violence here.
Public safety and national security go hand in hand. You cannot ban what is already illegal, okay? The illegal guns are the largest in terms of crime that's being committed. So you can't ban something that's illegal. It doesn't work. To tackle violent crimes through prevention and enforcing the rule of law. This is the first step. Second, yes, secure our borders. Stop and prevent illegal guns entering, illegal drugs entering, because they go hand in hand. The toys are not there just to play on the fields. There is a purpose for the guns, okay? They go hand in hand. So it's secure border, that's important. The open border policy, it's not only creating social problems, it's also creating security issues in this country. A common sense foreign policy based on security and prosperity is important.
I think there is a big crisis of the opioid. So a lot of our teenagers,
Excuse me, sir, this is about guns, not opioids.
Can we get
No,
back
I
to
think
guns?
this is
It's all about guns.
No,
I'm
this
actually
is
gonna agree with
related to
Zaf
the
here.
crime.
I think,
This
Zaf
is related to
highlighted
the crime.
One of the major problems with guns, and it's smuggling. And I'm happy to be running for a party that has a real plan for gangs and guns. The Liberals, once again, are trying to distract by going after duck hunters and sports shooters. We know this is not the problem. Talk to a police officer. My brother's a police officer. We have a plan to stop smuggled guns, to punish guns and gangs. I have a quote right here. In recent years, we've seen that 80% of firearms are coming through the border. Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders. Another one, by and large, shootings have street gang connotations to them or are street gang related. Police Chief Mark Saunders. So why is it we are going after the legal gun owners who are shooting targets or hunt? That it's a total illusion that the Liberals are pursuing because they don't have a real plan. They are not attacking gun violence at the source.
So fair enough. I'm going to have a word here because I've been as quiet as I could, letting others discuss their points of view. The question was whether or not cities require more powers to address the problem of gun violence. Here we're in Ottawa. Just in my own neighborhood, there was a tragic gun accident last year. It wasn't even an accident. It's incorrect to say it that way. In Bell's Corners. Of course, the Green Party wants to ban handguns and assault rifles because these are not hunting tools. These are human hunting tools, and they need to be banned. And some of the comments that were mentioned are actually very accurate. Canadian Border Services need more resources to actually stop the flow of guns coming in from the United States. This is where all the handguns are coming from. But more importantly, I think, the question of resources for cities. A percentage of the gas tax that the Greens want to increase sustainable funding to cities for infrastructure. And now I know this is commenting on infrastructure, but funding for infrastructure leaves room for cities to fund things such as police units and crime-fighting units.
Yeah, I like that Jean-Luc mentioned. Bell's Corners in Nepean has seen there was a shooting recently. I actually know a girl who I went to school with her brother. I know her father. She was shot in basically a gang shootout in Bell's Corners years ago. Both of these guys should have been in jail, and that's part of our plan, is when gangbangers are committing crime, we're letting them out on bail. They're walking on the streets days later. Everyone knows we give them a slap on the wrist, and out they go. And the Liberals, what is their plan? They're going to go after the guy hunting duck on the weekend.
You guys had 10 years and you did nothing.
I strongly disagree with the Conservative position on this one. He says that we just let gang members go for scot-free. Well, the answer is because what would punishing them achieve? These are people...
Justice.
These are people who are poor. They have no future. What are you giving them by arresting them?
A lot of them are quite rich from their gang activities, so that's very...
What we need to do is give these people a different option, an option other than crime. No one wants to...
So what happens once they commit the crime?
We have adequate justice already.
There's 300 people in Toronto out on bail on gun crimes.
I think we should look, Canada is still based on certain principles, which is individual freedom. You cannot dictate what one should do and what one shouldn't do. It is through free will. If they feel that through their free will, crime or whatever fits them,
yes,
we cannot force anything. What we can do is create an environment where people themselves realize the benefit of...
You
do it right along.
Thank you. Thank you. When I say it's time, that means it's time to stop talking. Thank you. Let's go back to the Communist Party candidate, Dustin Wang. You get the final 30 seconds.
The issue of gun violence does have some issues of preventing guns from entering Canada. But the biggest issue here is that people are committing crimes. Gang members are committing crimes because they have no future. They're their mother has no education. They can't get an education because they have to help support their own family as well. So the Communist Party will help decrease gun violence, not only by banning guns, but also by ensuring that everyone has a real future to look forward to.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next topic now. I'm going to direct the next question to Azim Huda, the People's Party of Canada candidate. Ottawa has just launched the first phase of light rail. The second phase, construction has already begun. The funding is in place from different levels of government for that. But as of now, there are no commitments to phase 3. And it looks as though the City of Ottawa is going to need the province and the federal government each to chip in 50% towards light rail, not 1/3 as they did in the earlier phases. So would your party support a 50% funding commitment to phase 3 of light rail in Ottawa?
As a number of 50, that I'm sure we could negotiate as a country and between the 3 jurisdictions, which is the municipal level, the provincial level, and the federal level, to come up with a common sense formula, which not only does a phase 1, phase 2, there are number games. The issue is next decade, the next maybe 20 years. I remember when I came in the 80s, Canada's infrastructure was 10 years ahead. Everything was like empty in terms of commuting. Today, 2020, our infrastructure is almost a decade or 2 behind. So there has been a
It's open to everyone now.
complete failure in this system.
Support of giving 50% funding for the phase 3 light rail system. 13 years back, Mark, in 2006, Barhaven lost out on the light rail. You know, we had a 29 kilometer, $880 million LRT from Barhaven to University of Ottawa. The politics killed it. Mohammed Adam in Ottawa Citizen wrote, we can't look back, of course. What is done is done. What we should remember how costly partisan politics can be. We should remember so we don't allow something like that to happen ever again. We have got a very good working relationship with the City of Ottawa. We have funded phase 1, phase 2. We are committed to funding light rail because it does fit into our environmental plan. We are committed to increasing public transit funding. In addition to LRT, we have also given City of Ottawa $126 million to non-LRT infrastructure, from improving the park and rates to buying the buses. In fact, in the Chapman Mills the transit route, $1.5 million was funded by the $126 million that was given to the City of Ottawa. We are committed to that. We are putting our money where the mouth is. We are planning to create a new national infrastructure fund dedicated to national projects. I'm sure the City of Ottawa can and will use it.
It's interesting to hear you mention Chapman Mills Drive. I think most residents of Barhaven would drive down that and see that there was supposed to be rail there up and running by now, and now we have a very glorified boulevard for buses.
And who cancelled it? Who cancelled the 2006
the city
LRT?
The city council. It was the city council, but that's okay. Our MP, our local councillor, voted for it. So I think there's a lot of problems here, and we've kind of skimmed over the big part. We got promised deficits to build infrastructure. We got way larger deficits. We blew through that, and we are not getting the infrastructure. The Auditor General said 60% of what was promised has been spent. That's a failure. I'm going to be part of a government that if we promise something, it gets done. And one thing I will promise you is I will fight for every ability of mine to get Phase 3 LRT funded to Nepean. I've already been having conversations with this because I understand how government works and I understand how to get things done in government, and that's something you're going to see from me.
So
I think
the reason why the Liberal Party is holding this up as an example of how they're coming to the rescue is because cities do not have a consistent form of funding for infrastructure. The Green Party is committing to increasing the gas tax far beyond that of the other parties, so that cities no longer have to come cap in hand to the federal and provincial governments. So the Green Party will commit to at least 1/3 of the funding for the Phase 3 of LRT, which will actually give us the biggest bang for the buck. This will reach out to Canada and to the reaches of Barhaven. But we're going to achieve that not only by 1/3 of funding, just as we have for the other phases, but also increase the gas tax transfers to municipalities.
NDP is committed to allocate more funds to have the transit, and also like I personally believe as an MP, instead of like delaying the phase 3 of LRT, we could have started simultaneously, right? They are like both going perpendicular. We could have started doing it, and then once it's done, then we could have joined the north-south and east-west. So if you are just delaying it, it will go like another 10-20 years. So as an MP, I will make sure that the transit funds are flowing and the city gets the money so that the projects go smoothly, and we will have less emissions on the road, and easy commute for the people who are traveling from Barhaven, who are working in downtown and mostly in public sector.
On the issue of the light rail, the Communist Party plans on spending billions more on rail infrastructure. This is to help people get out of their cars with the increasing gasoline prices as many has faced. But what's more, we will also ensure that it gets done. If these companies refuse to get it done on time, we will not work with them. We will do it ourselves. We will get the government to create its own company to actually get it done on time, to make sure it's accountable to the people.
Most of the public transportation that we talk about, there are two issues. One is funding, and the second is it resilient enough for the extreme weather conditions we are facing? This is a key issue. What we have seen is just the beginning of a lovely system that we think. Are we building resilience into it? Secondly, is it at par with the trending technology worldwide? We cannot just sit in Canada and say, here we have the state of art. The world out there has excellent systems, and we need to learn from there. And also the federal government, through its riding support, should be able to make sure that public transport is a high priority, and not only high, that the public transport also benefits the growing economic sector and provides prosperity at the end.
Okay. As it happens, you have the final 30 seconds on this topic because I did ask you the question. Azim Huda, go ahead.
Yes. Transportation, both public and national, because they are linked together. We need to ensure that there is synergy in both. In other words, when somebody lands at the airport, there is a straight connection to most of the areas that are called urban areas of Ottawa. A smooth transition will make sure we all...
Thank you. Let's move to the next question now, which I will direct to the Conservative candidate, Brian St. Louis. All of the other major parties in this election campaign support immediate action on climate change. Do you not think your party should see this as more of a crisis and have more of a sense of urgency about addressing climate change?
I think we have demonstrated that a sense of urgency from actually having a real plan for the environment. We've come out with a plan. It's 55 commitments, 60 pages long. It is the most comprehensive plan ever introduced by a political party in a Canadian election on the environment. I guarantee you most people watching have not seen it, so it's at realplan.ca. But check it out. A lot of it is around transitioning our industry, our natural resource sector, using technology in the market so we can do this cleaner than anywhere in the world. There's a lot around a green home renovation tax credit. There's a public transit tax credit to get people making activities that'll lower emissions. There's waterway protection, stopping sewage into the rivers. These are real policies, and I want you to check it out at realplan.ca and read all 55. We will be held accountable to those commitments.
All right, it's open to everyone now.
The Conservative plan is make pollution free. That is not acceptable today.
So why are
today
big
we are
emitters
facing
exempted?
climate change effects today. 5 years back, we thought our children and grandchildren will face the drastic effects of climate change, but it's happening today. The tornadoes, the floods, the fires that is happening today is about climate change, is due to the climate change, and we have to take action now. The Conservative policy doesn't address it at all. You want to make pollution free.
Chandra, have you read our plan? You should read the plan.
You are making
haven't read
pollution
it. I
free,
can guarantee you
but
haven't
we are pricing pollution today.
I think I need to clarify one thing right away here is under the Liberal plan, big emitters are exempted. Over 40 kilotons, we are going to put a price on pollution, absolutely. And we are going to make that, invest in the technology to do things cleaner than anywhere else in the world. That'll be backed by a capital acceleration component to help us export that technology. This is a global problem, and Canada can be a major global player in this. This is what our plan says. This is a real plan with real details. The carbon tax is a revenue plan because your government is broke, because they're running huge deficits.
We are setting legally binding 5-year milestones, legally binding 5-year milestones to reach net zero emissions. That is our commitment.
I think the liberal government, Justin Trudeau, has declared the climate change emergency, and the next day he went and signed for the Trans Mountain pipeline. And the conservative government, like they really don't talk about the climate change. Even Andrew Scheer, he did not participate in the protest. NDP has a bold plan. NDP and the Green Party, I agree. The NDP has a bold plan of $15 billion for the next 10 years, where we will create like more than 300,000 green jobs, where we will retrofit the homes, retrofit the buildings, and then we'll invest on zero emission vehicles and electric cars, and invest on the green projects where we can reduce the carbon emission, and we can meet the emission targets. So we can the global warming at 1.5 Celsius, we can stop it. Otherwise, it would be like a catastrophic. It is real, the climate, and NDP is really serious about it. And
the Communist Party has a very strong policy on the issue of climate change. As said before, we will close the tar sands in 5 years. This will greatly reduce our emissions. This is going along with a plan to reduce carbon emissions by 50% by 2030. The Conservatives and Liberals build pipelines. We build a future. We have a plan that will ensure that every Canadian's job will not create carbon emissions. We will hold the largest polluters, one of which is the military, responsible for what they have done. And we will nationalize many of these companies if they refuse to comply.
And Justin Trudeau has subsidized.
As part of climate change, environment is a key factor. As People's Party of Canada, we will prioritize implementing solutions to make Canada's air, water, and soil, they are all part of it, cleaner. In other words, not to degrade any further. The last 2 decades of this federal, whatever policies they had, have put us in such a mess now that now they have put a panic alarm button on it and a tax grab mechanism. This is not a way to deal with what is considered not only a national but a global issue. So we will make sure that there is a responsible transition to the renewables and the green energy.
That's good to hear.
My Silicon Valley high-tech program, that is for the Nepean, okay? What it's going to do is provide both incentive and innovation to make sure that we have a green technology development within our own country to meet our needs.
Okay.
So being one of the
sure
opponents
of everyone on this, so Jean-Luc Cook, go ahead.
Thank you. Being one of the only opponents here on the panel that has actually read the Conservative plan, I have to say it's very optimistic. They're really hoping that technologies such as carbon capture will actually solve the problem. Unfortunately, we don't have time for a Hail Mary. What we need right now is a full court press. We have the technologies available to us right now that we can scale up to actually avert the crisis emergency that we are facing. We need to stop burning stuff to get around. We need to stop burning stuff to make electricity. And the Green Party, quite frankly, is the only party that's actually putting together a plan, extremely detailed. We're being attacked on it from all sides, but that's fine, because the discussion needs to be had. But that is the goal that we have to reach. We have to reach zero. We have to stop burning stuff to get around. We have to stop burning stuff to make electricity. And then the home renovation tax credit, I'm really glad, by the way, there's no tax credits for hot tubs this time. But even under the Parliamentary Budget Officer's own assessment of the Conservative home renovation plan, it'll only reduce national greenhouse emissions by 1%. This is not acceptable. It is not a plan.
To add on more
Part
to
of a
that,
comprehensive plan, and we need to take on all areas of emissions, and that's what we're saying. We can't just focus on putting a tax and hope that things solve itself. So I know I get the closing statement here, so I'll save things if you'd like to go ahead.
okay, well, the big issue here is system change, not climate change.
Okay, Brian St. Louis, I asked you the question, so you do get the final.
Yeah,
30.
absolutely. So thank you. I mean, this is an important topic. I worked in a sector actually developing materials that enable clean technology. And like most things, Justin Trudeau has not been as advertised here. And he's a hypocrite. He flies around 2 planes for the campaign. He takes your money with taxes. He wants you to pay more for groceries so he can actually give that money back to Loblaws for new refrigerators. We have a 55 commitment plan. It's a roadmap once we're in government. and something we can be held accountable for. I actually met a constituent out door knocking the other day who will never vote for us. And I asked her about our plan, and she told me she was quite impressed. So that's fantastic. I think we're on the right path.
Thank you. The next question I will direct to Jean-Luc Cook, the Green Party candidate. We just talked about a very important kind of big picture issue that will affect the lives of Canadians, but I want to ask about the personal finances of Canadians. We've heard a lot about affordability during this election campaign. What specifically will your party do to make life more affordable for Canadians?
For many years, the Green Party has actually had this thing that we call pharmacare today. It was first introduced as a policy concept about 10 to 12 years ago by the Canadian Medical Association. The idea is that we have pharmaceuticals which have become far more crucial to our healthcare today than it was 50 years ago when actually John Diefenbaker was the Prime Minister that first brought it in. So pharmacare needs to be brought into the healthcare regimen. Additionally, I'm really concerned about the Canadian Home and Mortgage Corporation changes that the Liberals are proposing of boosting 10% of cash liquidity into the retail market. CMHC's original mandate was actually to fund rental housing and affordable housing, and that's where it should stay.
Okay, it's open to everyone now on affordability.
Yeah,
Making life more affordable is one of the key platforms in our forthcoming thing. Like the previous 4 years, we are going to cut taxes again. We are going to make sure that people don't pay any income tax on the first $15,000. That will save $600 for the average family. We are going to increase old age security for the seniors above 75 years of age by almost 10%. And we are going to make tax-free maternity and parental benefit. For the thing, we are going to increase the Canada Child Benefit for the child below 1 year. So we are going to reduce the phone bills by almost 25%. So we have got a very detailed plan to help make it life more affordable.
I think the affordability is a big issue now. Like people are struggling to pay the rent. The rents are going high, like the housing market, and people can't pay for the medicines. So NDP has the only party that has a real bold plan that Jagmeet Singh has. So we will spend on the universal pharmacare and dental care. 1 in 4 people end up in the emergencies, and with this plan, all the Canadians they get access to all the medicines. So they don't have to decide about having food or buying medicine. They don't have to use their credit card to buy medicines. So with this, we have a bold plan, and we will be able to achieve this, and it is realistic. And about the student loans, the Liberal government is making a lot of money on the students, and with NDP, we will waive all the federal interest loans.
In fact, we are increasing the Canada students grant.
Let's have a different view here. Okay, we all have views. Now, for me, it is the prosperity that's going to close that widening gap between cost of living and your income, what you bring at home. So what we will do is we will simply, sorry please, we will simplify the tax system and cut taxes, abolish the carbon tax. Most of our trading partners do not have capital tax gains. What we will do is encourage Canadians to save more. We will try to reduce the capital gains, promote venture capital markets that will initiate business startups, that will provide good paying jobs. We will reduce the government spending, yes, balance the budget, so that our hard-earned taxpayers' dollars does not go in paying interest or what's called servicing the debt, which is around $35 billion. And our deficit is $800 billion. We will, if we continue to move with the Liberals, try to reach the $1 trillion mark.
Yeah,
So
that is not an achievement by any chance.
People who haven't had a chance to speak yet get a chance, get a turn. So Brian
The way
St.
to
Louis.
search prosperity is not through debt. I do agree with that. And I think Zaf and us have one thing in common. At the start of this campaign, both the NDP and the Conservatives were talking about affordability. It's only recently maybe the Liberals have changed and realized that they're out of touch. And this is the issue that we're hearing at the doors. I've hit tens of thousands of doors. This is what I'm hearing again and again. No one trusts Justin Trudeau to do anything he says. He says he can lower your cell phone bills 25%. How? This is just another empty promise, not as advertised. We are the party that is going to focus on helping you get ahead. We have a universal tax cut that's about $450 a person. We're going to get rid of the GST on home heating and energy bills. That's about $150 a person. We're going to increase the age credit so seniors that are being struggled and killed by the increase of price of fuel, groceries, gas, they'll have some more money in their pockets. These are how we're coming at this election. We are going to put more money in your pockets. We are going to make your life more affordable. And I am the only party up here that can be credited with this pursuit.
Yes,
I
so
strongly
we are
disagree.
like
I strongly.
telecommunication.
We are going to
Let's
build
let Dustin Wang
we are
speak. He
going to
hasn't
build
spoken. Excuse me.
500,000 subsidized
Quiet.
homes.
Let's let
and,
Dustin Wang speak. It's his turn.
The Communist Party fundamentally agrees with the People's Party and the Conservative Party on this issue. Prosperity, it's great for the 1%. We need to ensure that the profits from what we are doing actually go to the people. That is why we are proposing universal, accessible, free quality child care, free universal dental care, free universal farmer care, free tuition for all,
Is this
cancel
costed?
student debts. Yes. Abolish, I'll get to that later. Abolish all taxes on the first $40,000 made, not the first 15.
So you're going to pay
$40,000.
for that all without
We-
tax.
Build 1 million units of social housing and force companies to lower the prices on their homes. Enact a livable guaranteed income. Ban unpaid internships which give companies
Force
free
people to
labors.
lower the
So
cost
we
of
are
their
going to
homes?
we are going to build
many million are you
500,000
gonna
of
have to die for that to happen?
affordable
Like,
housing,
most
subsidized
one at a time,
housing,
please.
and we are
One at
going
a
to
time.
pay
One at a
help
time.
with the rent. We are going to build 500,000 affordable housing, and we are going to provide help to the families who are struggling to pay rent. Who are paying like over 30% of their income on rent. So we are going to give them up to $5,000 per year, so they can pay their bill and they can have food on their table.
Look, this is
Okay,
a path
that's
to
time.
socialism.
That's time.
This
Thank
is a
you.
path
That
to
is time.
socialism,
That is time.
which Canada
That
will
is time,
reject.
sir. Thank you. Let's go back to Jean-Luc Cook. I asked you the question. You have 30 seconds.
Very lively discussion indeed. So on the question of affordability, of course, the Liberals and the Conservatives are going to inundate you with a million little boutique tax cuts. The reality is that will not affect your base cost of living. If you are living in poverty and you are still paying income tax, the question you have to ask yourself is why? Why do I have to pay income tax only to have it given back to me in social services? We need to raise the minimum personal exemption back up to the poverty line so that people who live in poverty don't have to pay as much. And of course, small business, if you follow my platform, is my primary focus.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to wrap up now with the closing statements. Once again, we will do those in the reverse order of the opening statements. So we will begin with the Green Party candidate, Jean-Luc Cook. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you for watching this debate. Clearly, you are an engaged citizen. And now, I have to ask you to be bold. I've been knocking on doors for months. It's not my first election. And 2 nights ago, I held a town hall at the Barrhaven Minto Rec Complex, where your own citizens and neighbors and friends were there demonstrating and telling me how hungry they are for a change. You are not alone in wanting your desire to have politics done differently, but that requires you to elect different MPs. A strong team of Green MPs in this next minority parliament will hold the old line party's feet to the fire and demand real action on transitioning away from fossil fuels and moving towards a renewable energy economy. I'm a software engineer who's worked primarily in the private sector. I've worked hard in my community for years. I've put in the time and the work that you expect out of your next member of parliament. And in the next election, I'm asking you to consider that this is the election of climate change. Now more than ever, it's time for you to vote with your values and to vote for the Green Party.
All right, thank you. Next up is the Conservative Party candidate, Brian St. Louis. Go ahead.
Well, I thank everyone for listening tonight. This election comes down to a simple question. Who do you trust to represent you and make your life more affordable? Who do you trust to make sure you get ahead? I am running for a party with a real plan to put money back in your pocket. We will scrap the carbon tax, remove the GST from home heating bills, and make maternity and parental leave benefits tax-free. We will bring in a universal tax cut that will benefit everyone, reintroduce children's activity credits that were scrapped by the Liberals. We will boost our ESP contributions, increase the age credit. We will also implement a public transit and green home renovation tax credit. We know what Justin Trudeau's priorities are. While he embarrasses Canadians overseas, is a shocking hypocrite, and has raised taxes on 80% of middle-income families. He spends billions overseas while you sit in traffic. And then he throws his own team under the bus if anyone questions him, while our MP sits behind him, nodding figuratively and literally. It's time for a change. My name is Brian St. Louis, and I'm asking for your vote on October 21st.
Okay, thank you. Next is the People's Party of Canada candidate Azim Huda. Go ahead.
Putting it simply, as your Nepean riding Member of Parliament candidate, I would put prosperity with robust economy and putting Canadian interest first. Prosperity with robust economy means simplifying tax system, cutting taxes, and as respect to public safety, to restore public safety and ensure national unity. We together shall make Canada strong and free, where we can live the dream. Next, in terms of what we think is really the matter, it is the disconnect between the cost of living. We will free up the markets. We will deregulate the telecommunications market. We will, in turn, is my vision to establish high-tech corridor where we will have good paying jobs so that you have a good life.
Okay,
prosperous.
thank you. That's time. Let's go to Dustin Wang, the Communist Party candidate. You have a minute.
In this election, you, the electors, will get to influence the future for all current and future Canadians. So think of the future generations who might have to live in a planet which is faced with millions of climate refugees due to the rising tides. They might be faced with a country that overthrows democratic governments simply because they oppose our businesses going in and violating their workers' rights. A country which values corporations and the 1% of earners more than it values the next generation's future. So when deciding who to vote for, please think for the future of everyone. Vote communist.
All right, thank you. Next is Zaf Ansari, the New Democratic Party of Canada candidate.
Thank you for watching our debate. My top priority as an MP for Nepean is to make the life affordable for all the constituents of Nepean. So our main platform would be like we will try to extend the current existing healthcare system with the universal pharmacare and dental care. So every Canadian, every citizen can have access to all the medicines that they need. We'll provide subsidized housing. We'll create like 500,000 new homes, and we'll provide the rental support for the people who are struggling to pay rent, and we will help the students reduce their we'll waive their federal interest on their loans, and we'll make sure that people have a life that is affordable. So on October 21st, please help elect me so I can be your voice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Finally, the closing statement from Chandra Arya, the Liberal candidate.
I entered politics with three main objectives. One, affordable housing for all. Number two, there are 11 million working Canadians with no workplace pension plan. I wanted to help them. Number three, the global economy is becoming a knowledge-based economy. I wanted to make sure that Canada is at the forefront of this new global digital economy so that we can continue to maintain the prosperity for our children and grandchildren. I have worked hard for the last 4 years. I have hosted 14 town halls on issues like seniors, innovation, pharmacare, etc. I met 1,100 individuals one-on-one. I attended 1,150 events in Nepean and Ottawa. I continue to work for you. I'm always available for you. Please re-elect me as your Member of Parliament. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates for your participation in the debate. Best of luck to you in the rest of the campaign. And thank you for watching. I want to remind you that Election Day is October the 21st in Nepean and throughout the Ottawa area. There are advance polls that are open on the Thanksgiving weekend as well. And join Rogers TV and 1310 News for live coverage of the election results beginning on October the 21st at 9 o'clock. Thanks for watching.